tone. Shoot. Man, this is when we get sleep. It's not stressful by the way that it's almost 1 a.m. I know barely. Fuck, I have headphones, but okay. Bitch, what the fuck are you pairing with? Headphone. Well, that's I found this. Oh. Okay. Just gotta question. Oh. That apparently won't work. Oh, it's connected to something else, and I'm too lazy to take care of that. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, what should I? Guys, what should I? It's so motivating. Shut up, say it. Nope. Wait, no, what is it? Oh, wait, fuck, it was golden! What? What's golden, oops? Gold. Tell us something. I know at least 3 people that are going to absolutely vibe to this. Wait, wait, why the fuck do you pay attention to this? Who the fuck pays attention to this? Meg, why the fuck do you pay attention? Meg, what the fuck? What the This is such a vibe. What the fuck?
Auf Vinted wird alles wieder neu. Shop es Trend und spare Geld. Wieder und wieder.
Pizza, pasta, perfezione. Mozzarella, fior di latte, von Galbani. Unwiderstehlich italienisch.
You're 15, and the desert sun burns your back as the ship docks along the Nile. They brought you here in silence, your wrists bound with a rope that still carries the scent of the last girl who wore it, the one who didn't survive the journey. You came from the mountains far south, where the trees bloom thick and the air smells of rain. But this place is different. This place is dry and blinding. The wind stings with dust, and even the river looks tired. They march you inland toward the south, where columns rise like teeth, and nobles dress in linen so
By the
white
way,
it hurts
how?
to look at. You're one of the
Is
5 that were
what it
sold
hide?
together, inspected one by one under an awning, while men with shaved heads scribble your height, your hips, and your price. You're stripped bare before strangers, the heat pressing against your skin like a second weight. A woman scrubs you with rough cloth, then rubs oil along your spine and dusts your chest with
Oil up, mate. Fuck, I shouldn't have. Oil up, mate.
crushed flour powder, making your body a display. They don't speak to you directly, only about you. This one will serve in the private quarters, the steward says, and that night you sleep in a side room near the master's bath. You're told not to speak or eat unless given permission. You're not to be seen outside. Neither are you here to clean or serve wine or pour water for guests. Your place? Beside his bed. You're now Hema, and your value has nothing to do with your thoughts. You're 17, and you've learned how to smile without meaning it. You walk the halls like a shadow now, quiet, perfumed, and invisible unless wanted. The master is a nobleman, distant blood to Pharaoh, rich enough to own 2 pleasure slaves and a library. His wife is beautiful, cruel, and always watching. When you serve dates or wine during banquets, she pretends you aren't real, but you see her knuckles tighten when he looks too long in your direction. Still, she says nothing because she can. He owns you, and you belong to the household, not the marriage. He touches your arm during prayer, slides his hand along your back when no one's watching. Then, one evening, he summons you with a nod instead of a command. You kneel, and you obey. His linen robe smells of papyrus and resin. His hands are soft, and his words are practiced. When it's over, he hands you a pomegranate seed and says the gods are pleased. You nod, though you don't understand which god would want this. Weeks later, your stomach turns in the mornings. You drop a tray and don't hear it fall. The housemaid notices, presses her hand to your belly, and tells you not to be afraid, that this could save you. You ask what she means, but she only says to pray he wants to keep it. A few months pass and your stomach swells beneath the linen. 2 other servants start giving you space, some offering bread or dates or a softer spot to rest. They don't say it, but they know. When the master sees you, he raises an eyebrow, then laughs, telling you that you'll name it after him, and then leaves the room before you can respond. You begin to understand what the housemaid meant. You're no longer a thing passed around at his will. You're now Walad, the mother of his child. He declares it publicly and proudly, as though the child were something he had carefully planned. Your chains do not disappear, but they shift. You cannot be sold or traded now. You still serve, still kneel, still smile when asked to, but there's something different in how they look at you. Your belly's no longer shameful. It is power, temporary and fragile, yet it is yours. The wife pretends not to notice, though her coldness sharpens. When she enters a room, you lower your eyes. She does not speak to you, but once she passes close and whispers that he will tire of you, and to just wait. Then she keeps walking, her gold bracelets clinking like tiny knives. You're 18, and the baby is born on a stone floor with only the housemaid and a midwife present. A boy. His skin is soft and golden, with curls already forming at the crown of his head. He cries the moment he touches air. Then again when they place him on your chest. The midwife smiles and says he has strong lungs, that he will live. You want to believe her. You want to believe you both will. The master visits that night. He holds the child like he has never touched anything so small. A son. He calls it a good omen. He leaves before sunrise, but his perfume still lingers on the linen. They give you a room near the back of the estate, beside the kitchens. It's small and hot, but it is yours. The housemaid helps you recover, showing how to wrap your belly, how to nurse, and how to keep the baby quiet when the mistress is nearby. She tells you to stay useful, that it'll keep you safe. You ask if that is always true, but she does not answer. The child grows, first crawling, then standing. His laugh sounds like freedom, yet you never forget. You are still property. Every day you live is one breath away from punishment, one heartbeat away from loss. If the master changes his mind, if the wife decides to speak, if the wind shifts in the wrong direction, your protection will vanish. And then there will be only a child with no name and a woman with no rights. You're 21, and your son runs through the gardens like he owns the land. The guards don't stop him, and the servants smile when he passes. He's your son, but he's also his father's. And that means something here. He eats honey cakes from silver plates, wears linen dyed in saffron, and sleeps with carved amulets meant to keep evil spirits away. You watch from the corner of the courtyard, holding a basket of laundry, while he chases dragonflies under the shaded date palms. The master comes to see him often, but not you. He nods when you bow. He doesn't touch you anymore. Not since the mistress found religion and demanded new boundaries. You should be relieved, but the silence feels like punishment too. You remain in the shadows, quietly washing the clothes of the woman who calls you a mistake. At night, when your son curls into your lap and asks why the other children won't play with him, you say, because they're jealous. You don't tell him it's because he doesn't belong anywhere. Not fully a slave, not fully free. You wonder if he'll hate you for that one day. You're 25 and you know how to avoid the mistress's eyes now. You take the back stairs. You keep your voice soft, and you've taught your son not to run indoors, not to sing too loud, not to look directly at her. It works, but only for a while. One morning, when he bumps her vase with a stick and it crashes to the floor, she screams. He freezes, and you rush in too fast, grab him too hard, apologize too quickly. She stands over both of you, trembling with rage. She calls him wild, like his mother. Her hand rises, but it's the steward who stops her, not out of kindness, but because the master has made it known that the boy is his. You thank the steward with your eyes, but he does not look back. Later that week, the master summons you. He says nothing at first, only staring at your son as he sleeps on a mat in the room. He declares that the boy will go to school, that he will learn the scribe's tongue. You nod, grateful, yet terrified. School means exposure, eyes on him, questions, and records. When he leaves, he pats your shoulder as if you are a dog that has done something well. You remain standing long after the door closes, your hands trembling, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. Hope.
Stell dir vor, du erstellst eine komplett maßgeschneiderte App, einfach indem du daran denkst. Das ist Base 44, eine KI-Plattform zum Erstellen.
You're 30 and the house is growing quieter. The mistress no longer speaks above a whisper. Her health is failing, and her servants tread carefully, as if afraid the sound of their footsteps might finish what illness started. Your son is now nearly a man, taller than you. He reads aloud to the master in the evenings, voice steady, fingers stained with ink. He speaks like a noble now, and eats like one too. But when he sees you, his face softens. You're still his mother, even if you're still a slave. You're Walad now, a mother of a child the master has claimed. It means they can't sell you. It means the women in the market look at you differently. Not with pity, not with scorn, but with something closer to fear. Because you stayed, you rose, and you survived. The master grows old. His gait is slow, his words more brittle than before. One morning, a servant finds him cold on the floor beside his bed. The house falls into stillness. There's wailing, a ceremony, and then there is freedom. Not for everyone, but for you. Because under Egyptian law, a slave who bore her master's child and whose child was recognized can become free when the master dies. That was the rule. That was the contract. You say nothing until the steward brings the papers and tells you the words you've waited your entire life to hear. You are no longer owned. You're 34 and the garden no longer smells like fear. You still live in the house, but now you sleep in a room with a door that locks from the inside. You wear linen that isn't assigned. Your name is on records, and not just your body. Your son walks with you through the market, holding your arm, not because he must, but because he chooses to. The same men who once passed you without a glance now bow politely. Some even ask if you need help with your basket. The mistress was taken away to a distant cousin's home. No one speaks her name anymore, and her steward has left. The new master, your son, has other ideas about power, about kindness, about legacy. One night, you open a small wooden box beneath your bed. Inside is the thin bracelet your mother gave you before they sold you. You hadn't looked at it in years. You run your fingers along the faded etchings. You remember her voice, her tears, and her hope that maybe life would still offer something more. Now, you live in a house where no one owns your body, where no one calls you girl or property or slave. You eat what you like. You rise when you choose. You walk freely. And for the first time in decades,
Mate? What the actual?
you're 12 years old, walking with your parents through the crowded streets of ancient Rome. Vendors shout over one another, carts roll by, and the air smells of breaking bread. It is by all counts an ordinary day, until a man who speaks fast and waves his arms stops your parents. Before you understand what's happening, he presses coins into their hands and takes hold of your arm. You're led away without being told where you're going. You pass by buildings you've never seen before until you reach a narrow doorway. Inside, the air is warm and heavy. The woman who greets you looks you over from head to toe, then tells you to wash. She then goes ahead to explain the rules in a flat voice. You do not leave the building without permission, you speak when you're spoken to, and you must always obey the keeper of the house or you will be punished. That night, you sleep in a small room with a straw mat and a thin blanket. You can hear footsteps in the hall and voices through
Können wir an die Wimpern heranzoomen? Wow, die Wimpern wirken aufgepumpt. Jetzt neu, auch in wasserfest.
the walls. The world you knew has already begun to fade, replaced by this place that smells of perfume, wine, and sweat. You're told that tomorrow will be the start of your training. You're 14. 2 years have passed since the auction, and you've come to know exactly where you ended up. In one of Rome's many lupinaria, brothels that operate behind plain wooden doors on narrow streets. The outside is nothing special, but inside, the smell of oil lamps, wine, and sweat fills every corner. The walls are painted with faded scenes meant to attract customers, and the floor is always sticky from spilled drink. Your work here is not something you chose, and from your first day you were put to cleaning rooms, serving jugs of watered-down wine, and lighting these small clay lamps in each cubicle. The beds are simple. Thin straw mattresses on stone or wooden frames with a single blanket that's rarely washed. You hear laughter, moans, arguments, and sometimes it's rarely washed. You hear laughter, moans, arguments, and sometimes crying from behind the thin walls. At night, the sound of footsteps never stops. By now, you know the rules. You're told when to eat, when to sleep, and when to work. Coins are handed to the owner, but never when to sleep and when to work. Coins are handed to the owner, but never to you. You're given food and a pallet in the corner to storeroom. Other slaves at the brothel avoid speaking about their past. Too many memories, too much pain. But you share glances that say enough. You've learned to keep your eyes lowered and your mouth shut, because anyone who argues risks a bloody beating. You have not yet been chosen for the work the others do with customers, but you can feel that day is coming. The owner has begun calling you to stand in the main room during busy hours, letting men see your face, hear your voice, and watch you pour their wine. It's only a matter of time before he calls you for more. You're 17, and by now you've developed instincts sharp enough to read a man before he speaks. The shuffle of his steps, the way he holds his head, even the smell of his clothes tells you whether the next moments will be easy or dangerous. You've learned to keep your face still, your tone neutral, and your movements precise. The wrong word or glance can turn an ordinary encounter into something far worse. The work remains the same, but you've found small ways to shield yourself. You trade favors with other girls. Someone takes a customer you fear, and you return the kindness later. You learn how to fake illness when exhaustion makes your body feel like it'll collapse. You pick up bits of conversation from passing traders and visiting soldiers, piecing together news from the outside world. You also start noticing cracks in the brothel's walls, figurative ones. There are days when the guards are distracted, when the owner is drunk, or when deliveries arrive late and the gates stay open longer. You tell yourself it's foolish to think of escape, but the thought refuses to die. There are still moments that remind you of what you've lost. The traveler hums a song you used to hear in the village. The passing boy laughs in a way that makes you remember your brother. These moments are sharp, like glass underfoot, cutting through the numbness you've built to survive. At age 20, the days blur together, yet your mind still counts them, as if keeping track will one day matter. By now, you're no longer a new face. Some of the younger girls look to you for advice, and you pass on the same small survival tricks you once learned the hard way. One night, something shifts. A customer arrives who's not like the others. He's quieter, more careful in the way he speaks, as though watching for every reaction. You notice his clothes are travel-worn but expensive. He asks questions that seem harmless, but you can tell he's listening for more than your answers. When the guards are distracted, he slips you a coin that is heavier than any you've ever touched. His voice is low as he tells you to keep it hidden, and then walks out without another word. The weeks that follow make you restless because you begin noticing more of the gaps in the brothel's routine. The guards change shifts late, deliveries sometimes go unchecked, and the owner grows careless when drinking. You start to imagine what you could do if you were bold enough to take the chance. You also know that there are risks, big ones. You've seen what happens to those who are caught trying to leave. The punishment is meant to break more than the body, and yet, something inside you is no longer satisfied with simply surviving. The thought of freedom is no longer a quiet dream in the back of your mind. It has become a steady drumbeat, urging you toward a choice that could either save your life or end it. You're now 22, and the years have worn you into someone harder, but also sharper. You know the rhythms of the place better than anyone else. When the doors are locked, when the guards are distracted, which windows are never fully latched. You've been patient, storing away tiny observations like they might one day be keys. One rainy night, the moment finally comes. The guard slumps asleep in his chair, the sound of rain masking every creak of the floorboards. You slip from your room, your bare feet finding the quietest parts of the hallway. The coin the stranger gave you years ago is still hidden in the hem of your dress, a reminder that another life could exist beyond these walls. You reach the service door at the back. For a moment, you stand frozen, hand on the latch, your heart pounding against your ribs. You can almost smell the outside, wet earth, fresh air, and freedom. You push it open, step into the alley, and start to run. The night is black, the rain cold on your skin, but the air feels clean in your lungs. You make it halfway to the street before you hear the shouts, with heavy boots pounding against the ground. A hand grabs your arm with a force that tears the skin. You fight, nails clawing at the air, but more hands are on you now. You're dragged back inside, the door slamming shut behind you. You know before they even speak that there will be no second chance. They keep you locked in a windowless storage room for 2 days after the failed escape. No bed, no food, only a bucket in the corner and the smell of damp wood pressing in on you. Every knock on the door feels like the one that'll open to something worse. On the 3rd day, they bring you out. The room is beyond dim, lit only by a single swinging bulb. The matron sits in a chair, her hands folded, eyes empty of anything human. With 2 guards standing beside her, they do not yell nor do they threaten. They simply tell you that what you did has consequences, and that the house cannot afford to appear weak. Then they take you to the basement, where the air is cold and wet. Metal chains hang from the ceiling. The floor stained with things you don't want to name. They tie your wrists above your head and leave you there. The sound of dripping water marking the hours. When the first blow lands, you're ready for the pain, but not for the way it steals the breath from your lungs. By the time they're done, your back is raw and your voice gone. You're carried upstairs like a broken piece of furniture and left in your room without bandages and without water. Every breath feels like it might be your last, but you live, at least for now. You're 23, but you have not been truly alive since that night of punishment a year ago. The beatings, the cold floor, the long hours left without food or water. Your body never fully healed. The pain in your ribs comes and goes, but the weakness never leaves. The brothel does not care. Even when you cough until you taste blood, they send you out to meet men. The makeup hides the shadows under your eyes, and the perfume covers the sour smell of sickness, but it cannot hide the truth. Every touch burns. Every night feels longer than the last. Then the fever comes. At first they think you're pretending to avoid work, so they make you stand by the door and take customers. But soon, you can barely walk, collapsing between encounters. Still, they drag you back to the rooms. Still, the men come. Still, you are used. By the second week, you're too weak to stand. They leave you in a corner bed, where the laughter and the music from the hall reach you like echoes from another world. No one cleans the sweat from your skin. No one brings you medicine. One night, the fever takes your breath, and by morning, you are gone. Your body is carried away in silence, and by evening, your place is filled by another girl. The world outside never knew you.
What the fuck?
Nie mehr online während der Periode. Teste den bewährten Always-Schutz mit neuer, besserer Oberfläche.
Es kündigt sich an.
No,
Die Erkenntnis.
You're 17 years old in Japanese-occupied Korea in 1941 when they come with their polished promises. Your village of Andong shivers under colonial rule. Japanese soldiers patrol like wolves.
I forgot to turn it video, but first day. So 56 hours. And it's gewählt. I don't know how to explain what Gesellschaftswissenschaften is on English. And we're doing like democracy. And my teacher just casually mentions Adolf Hitler. Like, just casually. Ah ja, ein berühmter Diktator war Adolf Hitler. I did not need to know that.
Wolves. Your Korean name has been replaced with Yamamoto Junko, and speaking your mother tongue earns you bloody knuckles from the teacher's stick. Your family's starving. Your father works 16-hour factory shifts for pennies. Your mother's fingers bleed from endless mending, and your 14-year-old brother coughs like he's dying from the inside out. Winter has been brutal, rice is rationed, and the rent collector circles like a vulture. Then 2 officials arrive with an interpreter, whose eyes won't meet yours. Factory work in Manchuria, they explain, showing photographs of smiling girls in clean uniforms. Good wages, regular meals, honorable service to the empire. Your daughter will send money home and return with valuable skills. The promised wage is more than your father makes in 3 months. Your brother needs medicine. Your mother counts the advance payment with shaking hands. More cash than your family has seen in years. Many girls from neighboring villages have already volunteered. The interpreter continues. This opportunity won't last long. You want to refuse. Every instinct screams against their too smooth promises and predatory eyes. Your brother coughs in the next room. Your father's hands shake from exhaustion, and your mother's tears have worn permanent tracks down her cheeks. I'll do it, you whisper, the words tasting like betrayal. 3 days later, you board a freight train with 11 other girls, clutching a cloth bundle containing everything you own. A family photo, your grandmother's silver hairpin, and a notebook of secret Korean poems. You don't know you're packing for hell. The train journey becomes a nightmare parade of red flags. Guards with rifles replace the polite officials. The promised meals are rice balls handed out once daily. There's no toilet. just a bucket for 12 girls. By day 3, Mi Young from the village north of yours develops a fever. By day 7, she dies in your arms. The guards drag her body out like garbage and leave her beside the tracks. Clean up the mess, they tell you. As if she was refuse instead of a person with a name and a family waiting for letters that will never come. The train stops in Burma, thousands of miles from the promised Manchuria. Military trucks transport you through dense jungle to a compound surrounded by double rows of barbed wire. Guard towers rise from each corner, searchlights already beginning their evening sweep. Commander Sato addresses your group with the matter-of-fact tone of someone reading a supply manifest. You are here to serve the sexual needs of the Imperial Japanese Army. You will serve as soldiers according to the schedules we provide. You will not resist, refuse, or attempt escape. The jungle will kill you faster than we will, but we will kill you if necessary. You are assigned number 7, the name Tanaka Michiko, and a room barely large enough for a sleeping mat and water basin. The wooden placard nailed above your door replaces your identity. That's who you are now, a number. The first soldier comes that very night, young, maybe 20, with soft features that might have been kind in another life, but his eyes are empty, his hands rough, and he speaks Japanese words you don't understand, while he destroys everything you thought you knew about your own body. You try to disappear into memories of your mother's garden, your father reading newspaper by lamplight, but the pain keeps pulling you back. When it's over, you lie on your mat, understanding that the girl who boarded the train in Andong just died. By your first week's end, you serviced 47 soldiers. You count because your mind needs something to hold on to, some way to measure time in a place where days blur into endless violation. Time becomes fluid. Days measured not by sunrise, but by soldier rotations, meal deliveries, weekly medical examinations that feel like additional violations. You turn 18 sometime in 1942, though birthdays don't exist here. You develop mental compartmentalization so complete you learn to separate consciousness from flesh entirely. While soldiers use your body, your mind retreats to a small, clean room where you sit with your grandmother, embroidering flowers that will never fade. Su Jin, another survivor, becomes your lifeline. He teaches you which guards can be bribed, which soldiers turn violent when drunk, how to fake illness convincingly enough to earn rest without triggering punishment. Make them see you as slightly more human than the others, she whispers. But not so human, you become a threat. Some girls develop different coping mechanisms. Kyung-sun stops speaking entirely. Jung-mi talks to herself in rapid whispers that sound like prayer, but use no recognizable words. You perfect the art of absence, floating above scenes while your body endures what cannot be survived. By 1944, chronic pain settles into your joints. Your teeth loosen from vitamin deficiency. Infections linger for weeks without proper medicine. New girls arrive sporadically. You teach them survival rules. Don't fight unless fighting will win. Remember your real name, but only in your head. Save strength for surviving, not for gestures that accomplish nothing. Some listen, others break within weeks. You perform small rituals for girls who don't survive, whispering their real names to jungle spirits, promising their stories won't be forgotten. August 1945. Japan surrenders, but nobody unlocks your door. Officers burn papers behind the administrative building, and rumors spread of some posts disposing of women. Commander Sato announces transport will be arranged for your relocation. Sujin overhears guards talking. They're eliminating evidence before evacuation. All evidence. You escape during the darkest pre-dawn hour, cutting through barbed wire with a stolen kitchen knife, following Sujin's hand-drawn map towards a river 2 miles northeast. The jungle swallows you immediately. A wall of green so dense you lose sight of the compound within 50 yards. For 4 days you follow game trails and stream beds, eating leaves and bark, drinking from streams without worrying about disease. Sujin develops fever on day 3, becomes delirious, and dies quietly on day 4. You dig her grave with bare hands and whisper her real name, Park Sujin from Incheon, to the spirits. For the first time since capture, you are completely alone. The Burmese village, where you finally stumble, emaciated and infected, provides rice and fish broth, but treats you with distant wariness. You represent something they don't want to acknowledge. War's reality for women. Allied forces eventually process you through repatriation camps. A nightmare of paperwork and bureaucratic indifference. Mrs. Kim, an older Korean woman, coaches you through the system. Tell them you are a factory worker. The truth makes officials uncomfortable, and uncomfortable officials don't approve paperwork. The merchant vessel to Busan takes 12 days. You spend most of it on deck, watching the ocean and trying to prepare for a homecoming that feels like attending your own funeral. 9 months later, you're standing in front of your own home. Your mother opens the door before you knock. Aged decades in your absence. Hair completely gray. Face lined with permanent worry channels. Sunja? She whispers, using your real name for the first time in years. Your family has built a life during your absence. Your father has steady work with American supervisors. Your brother studies engineering in Seoul on an American scholarship. There's no space in their recovered world for the broken stranger you've become. That night, listening to your parents whisper about your hollow eyes and flinching reactions, you know you can't stay. Within a week, you leave Andong forever, carrying a carefully crafted lie about finding work in Seoul. Seoul in 1946 is a city reinventing itself, perfect for someone needing to disappear. You find factory work, rent corners of boarding house rooms, perfect the art of existing without leaving traces. You move 7 times, change jobs 12 times, develop supernatural abilities to survive chaos using skills learned in the compound, reading men's intentions, becoming invisible when necessary. The Korean War arrives like returning fever. Chinese soldiers, North Korean troops, American forces, the women like you, they're all potential threats. You learn to recognize army units moving through the city and disappear until they pass. By 30, you look 50. Malnutrition has left your teeth loose, hair thin. Chronic infections have damaged your reproductive system so severely, a back alley doctor calls it war damage, as if your body were a bombed building. Sometimes this feels like loss, the traditional life that might have provided cover. More often, it feels like mercy. You've become an expert seamstress, read voraciously, write poetry in your notebook. At 50, you realize you've spent more years hiding than you lived before it happened. You begin wondering if silence honors what happened to you, or if it's another form of imprisonment. Korea democratizes in the 1980s. Students occupy universities. Journalists investigate forbidden topics. The enforced silence that protected you begins feeling more like suffocation than safety. In 1990, you read about Professor Yoon Chung-ok's research into comfort women, the clinical term finally giving name to your experiences. We need survivor testimonies, she says, to ensure this history isn't forgotten. After 17 drafts over 3 months, you mail a letter offering testimony. 3 weeks later, they reply with compassion and professionalism. In your small apartment, you tell your story in fragments to researchers who believe you. Understand the historical context. Value your experience as evidence rather than shame. On August 14, 1991, you stand outside the Japanese embassy with 12 other survivors. Most wear masks to conceal identities. You choose to show your face. After 50 years of hiding, you want to be seen. Kim Hak-sun gives the first public testimony. When she finishes, you step forward. My name is Kim Sunja, you say, using your real name publicly for the first time since 1941. I was 17 when they took me. I want the world to know what happened to us. Your voice shakes, but grows stronger with each sentence. You describe the system for what it was: state-organized sexual slavery, used as a weapon of war and a crime that destroyed hundreds of thousands of lives. We were children with dreams and families and futures. You took all of that and tried to erase us from history. The response is immediate and overwhelming. Support letters from women's groups and individuals expressing admiration, but criticism too. Anonymous calls questioning your motives. Letters suggesting you maintain dignity through silence. On January 8, 1992, you joined the first of the now weekly Wednesday demonstrations, growing in size and international attention. You become a regular participant, testimony becoming part of Korean and international consciousness. You speak at universities, the UN, legislative bodies worldwide. Japan issues partial acknowledgments but avoids legal responsibility. They support an Asian Women's Fund that offers atonement money as private charity rather than government reparations. You join other survivors in rejecting these payments. We don't want charity. We want acknowledgement that crimes were committed. At 90, you reflect on 2 decades of advocacy. Legal goals remain unfulfilled. Japan hasn't accepted responsibility or provided adequate reparations. But cultural transformation is undeniable. The comfort women issue is now part of historical consciousness. Your testimony preserved for...
What?
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft Rewards.
You've probably already seen this video where a guy beats Minecraft while beating himself. Now, he was a professional, but I'm one step above that. The day one Jenny pioneer steps forward and tries this challenge himself. But of course, there are rules.